All right, yogis, welcome back. My name is Alex. So today we're going to take a broad taste of some of the skills that are going to help you get to your headstand over time. And then down the line, we'll break down individual skills and really hone in on them in their own individual classes. Right now, just taking kind of broad strokes, looking at the legs, the abdomen, the back strength, some of the things going on with the arms and the chest, so we can start to notice these things in our normal practice and incorporate them into the awareness structure that's going to allow you to do headstands and start putting your body upside down. So first, some pelvic floor respect, control, and awareness could be helpful. In yoga, we describe this as bandha, using what we call energy locks, or in this shape, a dome, to create a sense of lift and support that's going to recruit a lot of things around it to start helping out. So a technique that I like to use, find these, is to grab a block, or you can use a book or a pillow, something that we can put between your inner thighs, and holding it long edge front to back, skinny edge is the width of between your legs, and stand with your feet hip width and parallel. All right, so if we don't do a very good job of activating our feet, activating the muscles of your legs in a headstand, it tends to default a lot more pressure into your lower back. So if we can get used to using your feet, using your calves, using your thighs, using the muscles within your pelvis, then your abs and your lower back muscles will be able to do their job much more effectively, and everything will be a little safer. So press down the corners of your feet actively. Notice that when you drive down the big toe side of the ball of each foot, your calf muscles want to engage. Tighten your thigh muscles to the bone. Squeeze your inner thighs onto the block like a pincer. Like gears, turn the block back with your inner thighs, spin internally with the thighs. Before your pelvis can tilt forward and your back starts to arc more than normal, pull up your abs, engage your butt muscles without being so forcefully clenched, but definitely firm, and hug your outer butt muscles in. Then visualize what it'd be like if you're trying to lift the block straight up into your body, other than awkward. Now imagine you have to go to the bathroom, but it's not forward where it's the number one, it's not so far back where it's the number two, it's right in the middle. Can you engage those muscles to hold it in? And for ladies, think up and further back, closer to where maybe your cervix might set. Engage for 3, 2, and relax. So you might notice when you relax, it feels like the block wants to fall. And when we engage, it feels like the block wants to pull up, and you might even stand a little taller naturally, or feel a little lighter in your lower back or your spine to hip relationship. So try it one more time, maybe even with your eyes closed, or practicing a bit of drishti, looking about an arm's distance in front of you without actually looking at anything, keeping your eyes steady. Press through the corners of your feet, no part too much, but everything contributing. The corners of the ball of each foot and the corners of the heel. Feel quadrants around your legs start to wake up. Squeeze onto the block. Turn it back. Lift your abs and firm up your glutes so your hips are pretty level. And lift the block into your body. Then recruit that sense of bandha where you're using your bathroom muscles, but not far forward, not far back, right in between. Perineum for guys, more up and back by the cervix for ladies. 3, 2, and change, please. Cool. Next, we need to be able to recruit your chest muscles, recruit your outer armpit muscles, and your bottom shoulder blade muscles to be able to stabilize your shoulder blades in what we call protraction, a wide shoulder blade place. So when we're in our headstand, if our shoulder blades start to move up and in, it compromises the spacing for your neck and the support system. But if we can use some of your chest muscles, outer armpit muscles, bottom shoulder blade muscles, and your lats a little, we can bring the shoulder blades down and apart and create a very stable frame for your upper back and a comfortable condition for your neck. So one of the ways to feel those muscles is to grab the same block, hold it out in front of you, not gripping the fingers on the sides, but palming the sides. Squeeze onto the block. When your arms don't move, the muscles that make your arms want to do this stay strong, and they engage in the front side, stabilizing the front of your shoulder. Then reach the block a little forward so you feel your outer armpit muscles turn on. Your shoulder blades pull apart. Engage all the same muscles you use with the block around your inner thigh, so your lower body creates its same frame that we've practiced. And then slide or press the bottom edges of your shoulder blades into your back. Not so much to where your ribs have to puff out, but enough to where your shoulder blade's stable from the bottom edge, the outer edge, and the top. 3, 2, change please. Another way you can feel those muscles is with a strap or a physio band in your block. So you can try this or not, but get the idea. You'd put the block between your elbows. You'd hold a strap between your hands just about block width or wider. Lift the block to shoulder height and pull the hands apart as you squeeze the block in. Now automatically my ribs want to puff out, so if I tighten my abs in, engage the root lock that we talked about earlier, and do this exercise, I can feel these outer armpit muscles turn on quite a bit that allow my shoulder blades to widen and stabilize. Okay. We can apply these two techniques to each other or together in a forearm plank. So we'll put the block between your inner thighs, come down to a tabletop, and place your forearms on the floor. So over time, your hands are going to try to get closer and your elbows are going to try to get further apart. And the more that happens, the less stable you're probably going to feel in the shoulder, and the more pressure you're going to feel in the front of the shoulder, collarbone, and neck. So do your best to keep your elbows in, your outer armpit muscles engaged, and that same idea like when we were reaching the block forward, push through the floor with your elbows so your shoulder blades stay wide. Come into that forearm plank. Hands on the floor, forearms parallel. Engage the corners of your feet. So you're leaning a little forward, heels roughly over toes, but you feel like you're pushing back through the corners of the feet. Tighten your thigh muscles and turn the block to the ceiling a little, but before your butt sticks up, tighten your abs and your butt muscles and come into a subtle tuck of your tail. Push through the floor with your elbows so your outer armpit muscles turn on, and squeeze in with your elbows so your chest muscles turn on, your chest feels broad. Now notice where your eyes go, the rest of your body wants to follow. So if you hang your head, maybe your butt wants to stick up. If you look too far forward, maybe your hips want to sag down. So look somewhere between your thumbs or your wrists, somewhere that allows you to keep a natural neck and the awareness of the rest of your body. Change, please. So again, it's not that we don't do a lot of these techniques in our normal yoga practice, but if we can look at them through the lens of a handstand practice or a forearm stand practice or a headstand practice, we can start to link these skills together. So when we go upside down, it doesn't feel like we're dealing with a whole new playbook. When we go upside down, we're dealing with all the things we've done many times before. So we feel really comfortable when we take them to a more intense place. Next, we need to have some overhead chest flexibility. We have to be able to bring the arms over your head without it throwing off the rest of your spine, without you being able to find some type of balancing act with your core stability and with your back strength. So being able to bring your arms over your head is going to open up a lot of opportunities to do headstands without getting all the pressure in your lower back through the lack of our frame. So you'll take 2 blocks or 2 stacks of books. So you can even use a chair if you had maybe a folding chair. And I'll put about a half of my triceps along the block so that I'm not just on the pointy part of my elbow, I'm not pinpointing on one part of my tricep. I have a pretty decent amount of surface area. Prayer hands and try to get my thighs straight up and down. So I'll take a peek at my legs and make sure my thighs are straight up and down to the best of my ability. Now, we use a lot of those same techniques we've been practicing. Engage the bandhas with the block between your inner thighs. Imagine there's one there. Use those same skills. Zip up your lower abs so we're not laying into the chest on this one. There is a version where you could stretch it this way, especially if you're working towards like a hollow back handstand. But we're not doing that here. We're closing the core a bit more. Reach forward through the elbows, squeeze in with the elbows, and widen your shoulder blades so it feels like your armpits turn towards your chest rather than the armpits turning away from your chest. Hopefully the result is more space for the middle of your spine and the back of your neck, less pinching in the front of the collarbones or the tops of the bicep area. A little tuck in the tail will give you even more sensation in those outer armpits. And I'm not really hanging my head here. I'm not looking forward. I'm trying to create a pretty natural neckline. So I'm lengthening into the crown of the head a little bit. I'm finding a chin positioning that feels as natural as can be. I don't need to check my work with a mirror. I just want to feel it. Okay, carefully. It's a little clunky coming out. Just walk the knees forward, or you can push the elbows down. Bring yourself out. Cross one arm over the body. Tuck the opposite elbow underneath and just give it a gentle, kind of like a half eagle arm. And change it out. All right. So we do have to have some pretty good butt flexibility, hamstring flexibility, lower back flexibility to be able to get into the preparation of a headstand. So when we're getting into a headstand, we want to be able to get your hips basically over your shoulders with your spine as natural as possible. And if you don't have very flexible calves, feet, hamstrings, glutes, lower back, if you don't have a pretty mobile backside body, it's really hard to get into the best leverage position. Then you have to have a pretty strong backside body because it's those muscles that really help you to hinge the legs up without the need to kick. So we're thinking some flexible hamstrings is going to be important. Flexible glutes are going to be important. So lying onto your back, you'll take a strap and hook onto your right foot. If you don't have a strap, you can use a towel or a washcloth or a t-shirt. And then straighten your left leg forward and down. So the right leg is hooked, the left leg is forward and down. Now you may bend the top knee a little if that allows you to keep your right hip heavy and your lower back natural. So imagine that there's a strap around the top of your right thigh pulling your right hip down to the floor and away from your body. Imagine you have a belt on around your shorts or your pants and you're keeping that belt even with the short edges of your mat. You can toggle between pointing the feet, which will make the calf muscles engage. It's called a plantar flexion, or you can flex the toes towards you and push your heel up, call that a dorsiflexion. As long as it doesn't feel like a shooting amount of pressure, like you're triggering a nerve, it's nice to kind of tinker between the two or even alternate back and forth rhythmically. Whether you choose to point your toes or flex your feet, a dorsiflexion like this, when you're in a headstand, it's really up to your personal preference. You'll see gymnasts point more. A lot of yogis flex the toes towards their face more, dorsiflexion. As long as you're active, I mean, you can kind of go either way. Some people will argue that the pointed toe, the plantar flexion, just looks more aesthetically pleasing, creates straighter lines. But then if you look at my ability to point my toes, I mean, come on, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Change, switch out the legs. The point being, the feet need to be active. The calves need to have a balance of strength and mobility. And we want to be able to link the activity of the feet, the calf muscles, the front of the shin muscles, thigh muscles, and the abs to help create that long, spacious, supported lower back. So if you notice that you're pulling on the left leg and your left hip is lifting off the floor and your tail is tucking and your butt's pulling up, well, then we're missing the point here. Slide the left thigh bone into the back of the hip socket. Reach your lower left butt cheek away from your lower back and try to keep the natural frame. If you use that same bandha between the legs, that root lock, that mula bandha, the block between the leg exercise here, it makes it a lot easier to support the frame. And change, please. Unhook the leg, hug both knees in, move it around a little. So we call it skeletal rhythm. When you move certain bones, other bones are encouraged to move as well. So for example, when my thigh moves towards my stomach, my tail also wants to tuck. We call that femoropelvic rhythm. If my tail tucks, then my lower back wants to round. We call that thoracic pelvic rhythm. So I need to be able to bring my thigh to my stomach without my tail tucking and my lower back rounding. So that if you're going into a headstand, as your feet get closer to your body in preparation for going upside down, your lower back doesn't pooch back and put a lot of strain in your low spine. We have to be able to keep the integrity of the spine as the legs move, whether they come towards your stomach or away from it. So one of the ways we can practice this is reach your arms over your head, palms face each other. You can even make it better and do it with a block between your hands and work on the same techniques we've been doing, squeezing the hands into the block, widening the shoulder blades, and comforting a natural neck. Bend your legs into a chair shape so your shins are parallel to the floor. Engage the invisible block between your inner thighs. Tighten up those banda muscles and then engage your lower abs so you have a naturally shaped lower back. So I don't change my lower back at all. Inhale, right leg straight. Exhale, bend the leg. Left leg straight, inhale. Exhale. So I'm not letting my lower back arc more than normal or collapse when my thighs come in. Keep it going. Inhales to lengthen. Exhales to hip flex and bring the thighs towards you. So I don't let my spine change. And when my legs move, I'm trying not to swivel my hips left to right like I'm doing the dance from Twist and Shout. One more. Just an idea of some of the skills that are going to be important and change. Next, we want to be able to lift out of our shoulders. We want to have the ability, if we're on our head here and start to feel compromised, that you can push down and take the pressure off your neck by lifting into the shoulders, lifting out of the shoulders, and creating a sense of buoyancy. It's a nice shock absorber. It's a nice added safety measure. And it's a good technique, especially if you're going to work towards forearm stands or headstands. Or handstands, rather. So what you'll do is you'll set up your down dog, work the invisible block between the legs, work the pushing forward and squeezing in with the hands. When you inhale, lift out of the shoulders, bring yourself into a shrug from the outer edges of your shoulder blades. And when you exhale, slowly depress the shoulder blades down your back. Inhale, extend out. Exhale, depress the shoulder blades. Keep the shoulder blades wide, the triceps wrapped down and in. Inhale, lift out of the shoulders, what we call that upward rotation of the shoulder blades. Exhale, depress the shoulder blades without collapsing. Let's try 3 more. Good. And change. Grab opposite elbows behind your back, broad collarbones, gentle around the neck. I'll give you guys one more for the day. And again, hopefully we're just starting to feel these skills come together and we recognize when we use them in other settings so we can get really comfortable with them down the line. So kind of linking all the things that we've been working on to a degree, you'll hold your down dog nice and firm and imagine both your butt cheeks are pressed against the wall behind you. If your heels are up or your knees are bent a little, that's okay. But like we said, we have to have pretty flexible hamstrings, calves, backside bodies to do our headstand approach. So we want to work towards getting the heels towards the floor, getting the legs a little straighter, not forcefully so, not ahead of our own development tempo, but potentially something we want to have. So what I'll do is I'll inhale, lift a leg back, try not to change my hips, not swivel them or lose the shape of my spine. Then keep that idea, exhale, bring my thigh to my stomach, both butt cheeks on the wall behind me. Inhale, reach back, try not to change the frame. Exhale, thigh to your stomach, thigh slides to the back of the hip socket. Inhale, 3 more. Exhale, thigh to stomach, both butt cheeks on the wall behind you. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Exhale. And change. So hopefully it's starting to make sense. Try the other side. I'll talk a little less, but when your thigh moves towards your stomach, you want to feel like the thigh is moving to the back of the hip socket as it lifts up. So instead of feeling that when the thigh comes up, your tail wants to tuck and you're rounding your spine, your thigh comes up and in, and you're growing taller, growing longer through the midsection. You can try about 5 or 6 on the next side. You might even take it up to 10 eventually with your reps. Inhale, reaching back. Exhale, drawing in. When you're finished, maybe review the techniques once more without the video. Just start to really have a functional understanding of what's going on so you can identify it off the mat or in your public classes or the rest of your home practice. And then we'll start chipping away at these skills a bit more intently down the line. Namaste.